This is Tim, and I've been very worried about bullying for some time now. I did a video about it, nearly 2 years ago, maybe a bit longer. Bullying is always wrong, but it's very difficult to define who is bullying. And we have two problems. Number one, the experience of the person being bullied. They may well experience bullying, and the bully may not realize what he or she is doing. It may have become such a habit that it may be very difficult to get out of that habit. I don't mean to sound as if I'm defending bullies. I'm really not. I'm trying to get to the bottom of why we have an explosion of bullying in our society and what we can do about it. I think we need to change our behaviour. There are examples of bullying in the news literally at the moment. Think about it. If we're now saying that just before a sensational interview that the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, has done the same sort of thing, has been bullying, well, that may be worrying news, but the fish smells from the head. And the Home Secretary, Patel, I think, must take some responsibility for having set a standard behaviour in the workplace in public life. Let's examine that. Because the government has just paid out £340,000 to Sir Philip Rutnam. It's also paid out money to Sonia Khan, who claimed sex discrimination when she was marched out of Downing Street, if you remember, by the police. Really, a really disgraceful exit, completely humiliating. This is on top of legal fees that the government must have been paying, getting advice, and a further £25,000 paid out to yet another civil servant who alleged that Priti Patel was bullying when she headed the Department for Work and Pensions. The allegations instantly go on. They go on and on and on at the Department for International Development in 2017. Priti Patel was apparently bullying civil servants there in public. She was humiliating them. Sir Philip Rutnam says very generously, I think, that the case is now closed. The case is now solved, I think is what he says. And you know, let's be clear, he was incidentally defending others and seems to have been caught up in this mess. But even though he says his particular issue is solved, the Civil Service Union, the FDA, does not think the matter is closed and is looking into the issue more broadly. And we know, because it's on record, that even if the Home Secretary accepts no liability for the issue surrounding Sir Philip Rutnam and that scandal, and I'm sure there have been NDAs signed, as this is the way that these allegations proceed, we know that Priti Patel has a habit of shouting and swearing at her staff, that she's treated civil servants poorly. That is in the Cabinet minutes, and it's public knowledge now. She survives. I can't imagine anybody could actually survive that in business or public life, but she survives because the Prime Minister wills it so, and because the Cabinet Office reviewed the case and thought Priti Patel's behaviour was unintentional. She was unintentionally shouting and swearing. She retains her office as long as she commands the Prime Minister's confidence. That is the rule. Maybe there's something that lies behind this. Maybe, I don't know. I remember when I was a monk, there was always a question about the level of guilt involved in something that had become habitual. Of course, the answer is that we all need to nurture good habits. We need to focus on what is good rather than focusing on what is bad. Buckingham Palace, apparently, we learn, has a no bullying policy, a zero tolerance. But examine that phrase, zero tolerance, which we hear so often. This, in fact, is pretty aggressive language. We cannot counter bullying with aggression. This simply transfers the bad behaviour from one group of miscreants to another. It's all about the abuse of power. The ministerial code is clear. Harassing, I think, what did you say? Harassing, bullying, and other inappropriate or discriminating behaviour, quote, will not be tolerated and ministers are held personally responsible. For what it matters, I do not think a policy of zero tolerance is the way forward. The aim of zero bullying is laudable, and the policy should be something positive, like it cannot be imposing more rules and more power, but about creating an atmosphere where kindness and consideration and good manners are the norm and are rewarded. Last February, when he resigned, Sir Philip Rutnam said there was a vicious and orchestrated campaign against him. And now we learn Meghan Markle says that she and her husband are victims of a calculated smear campaign. Her communications secretary, whose name I cannot remember, Jason, I think I have difficulty with his second name, I'm afraid, was behind the allegations and apparently said that she had driven 2 personal assistants away and was undermining the confidence of a third member of her staff. I think that's the idea. This happened back in 2018. But the communications secretary, Jason, whose job was to communicate, that was his job, to communicate, somehow held back. So that only now the news has come out, and only now is the palace gearing up to investigate. It just seems very strange, very strangely timed, and slightly remiss. What about these people who feel they were bullied? But we know who leads by example now. We know who has the confidence of the Prime Minister. We know what sort of behaviour is clearly tolerated and commands that confidence. That much is clear. It's not a matter of allegation, but a public record that the Home Secretary was shouting and swearing. And she heads. She is the icon of authority for the way we rule our country. I'm not sure that she is leading by good example. With that level of example, I wonder how any anti-bullying policies can possibly work in this country now. What I would like to see, because I understand that she has this potential. We just are not able to see it most of the time. What I would like to see is examples of her kindness, examples of her compassion, examples of her good behaviour. This should be the standard by which our public officers conduct their life. This is the standard by which we exercise power. And then that will trickle down to our playgrounds, to our schools, to our places of work, to entertainment, to all levels of society where power can be used or abused, because bullying is about the abuse of power. And if we can set an environment which is kind and compassionate and predicated on good manners, we will not find bullying. Bullying will be eradicated. But the more we stamp and say, zero tolerance for bullying, we have to ask, we are just perpetuating the same level of abuse that we are also castigating. We need to offer bullies an example of how best to behave. We must not focus so much on this vacuum of what not to do. We must give them an example of what they should do. We must set out a clear roadmap. So, do subscribe to my channel, please. I just did that as a command, didn't it? An imperative. It's such an abuse of power. Please, if you wish to, subscribe to my channel, and please leave any sort of comments as you wish, whether these are good or bad. I will respond to almost everything, and I'd be delighted to see how the debate emerges, and be kind, but I would love to know whether or not you think there is a better solution to bullying than the one I'm proposing, and I would love to see Priti Patel leading the way, and I would love to see Priti Patel in the newspapers with a smile on her face. We know she can do it, and it doesn't. I don't think it's going to rule. I don't think it's going to ruin the rule of law if Priti Patel smiles occasionally. A smile works wonders. So, have a good day. This is Tim. Bye bye.